Three words that I never imagined I would use in the same sentence to describe a backlock: flickable and good action. Hey, I'm Jay, and if you're looking to buy a knife and you need to see what it's like first before you drop your hard-earned money on it, here's what you got to do. Click on subscribe so I can help you, and remember to click that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. Now, all of the specs that you're looking at right now, I had personally measured myself. Now, as usual, we are going to start out with talking about what I like and some of the potential deal breakers that I see of this Manix 2 backlock. First, let's get the size comparisons taken care of right now. We'll start out with another Spyderco and the Endura 4. And how about this one? The Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. And you know what? The next two knives are going to be Cold Steel. This is the Code 4. And I think this one should probably take care of it. The American Lawman. Now I have just one quick disclaimer for you, and that's going to be regarding the pocket clip. This, in fact, is not the stock clip that is shipped from the factory. This is a pocket clip that I had personally modified and attached to the Manix 2 here, but I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. Of course, this backlock version still features the very same Spyderco's famous leaf-shaped blade with a full flat grind and a really nice high polished satin finish. The blade steel CPM S30V, fantastic steel. And thickness of that is going to be at 3.75 millimeters thick compared to the standard version of the Manix 2 with the ball bearing lock, and that blade thickness is 3.25 millimeters. And actually, the PM2 and this Backlock Manix 2 have the exact same blade thickness up near the pivot. Of course, they're going to taper down, especially the PM2 is going to taper down to a finer tip, but up here at the thickest point, the same 3.75 millimeters thick. Now, this one still does feature that just nice, big, usable forward finger choil that I just absolutely love. The blade is riding on bronze washers, and the action here is just absolutely, it's fantastic. I mean, watch this. Okay, I'm going to press on the back lock. Boop. Yep, drops. And then to open it, give it you do have to give it a little bit of wrist, but it does flick open. It is possible, as you can see. And that dropping closed, it was like that right out of the box. Yep, I did not do anything to it, didn't have to oil it or, adjust the pivot screw. Look at that. Just fantastic action on a backlock. And of course, you are just going to be using the Spidey hole or the thumb holes here. Let's check the centering, because I am pretty sure it is just about perfect, and oh yeah, it sure is. Very well done. Now, once this is locked up, I want to go ahead and check. Nope. Absolutely no blade play in any direction. Now, there are going to be just the two areas of jimping here, of course, in that forward finger choil and then on the thumb ramp. Now, here's something that I just noticed, and I want to share with you guys because I just thought it was kind of a cool feature here. So if you look at the spine here, and do you see where the lock ends and then the blade begins? It's right in the middle of all that jimping. And what that kind of does is it almost hides, well, it does. It kind of hides the seam. So it almost looks like it's just one long single piece of metal, as opposed to here, I want to show you on the original, well, with the FRN. Look at that. Yeah, not that it's, not that it's a big deal, but I just thought that that was really cool that it was kind of camouflaged there in the middle of all that jimping. Ooh, the weight. We have to talk about the weight. Let me go ahead and grab the scale so I can show you how much this is going to weigh you down. Now, before we go ahead and toss this up on the scale, I just want to go ahead and try and show you the insides here. Yep, there are no liners. Just these two thick chunks, slabs of G10. So let's see how that's going to affect the weight here. Wow, 4.4 ounces. And that's going to be roughly the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So about 5 AA batteries, or one almost exactly the same weight as one cold steel Code 4. These linerless G10 scales are still very, very comfortable. I mean, the ergonomics, well, you guys know, I mean, the ergonomics on a Manix 2 to begin with, they're just out of this world. And that's the same for this Backlock version as well. I mean, very, very comfortable. No sharp edges anywhere, even though the handle does look a little bit on the blocky side. There's nothing sharp. Now, that handle thickness is going to be 0.52 inches. Now, if we compare that, this is the FRN handled with the ball bearing lock, and the handle thickness here is 0.45. So it is going to be just a little bit thicker, a little over that 1/2 inch threshold that, a lot of you like to stay within. The pocket clip now is going to be actually 4-position locatable. Look at that. So tip up, tip down. For righties, tip up, tip down. For lefties. Now that is just beautiful. I can fit all of my fingers. You can see I wear a medium-sized glove. I can fit all of my fingers, no problem, on this 4.63 inch long of a handle. The screws, the pivot screw, it's actually, I was a little surprised because it takes a T10 as opposed to the standard, on most knives it's going to be that Torx number 8. No, this is T10, and the body screws, all the rest of the screws take a T8. Now, unfortunately, we do have to talk about some of the potential deal breakers, but before we do, I just want to quickly remind you to go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you're looking for knife reviews that get right to the point. So potential deal breaker number 1 is going to be regarding the handle and the blockiness of it, which I had already touched on just for a second, but I mean, the handle here looks a lot thicker than it really is. It looks a heck of a lot thicker than 0.52 inches. The traction on the Manix 2 Backlock it's not the best. It really isn't. It's actually, you could consider this G10 a little bit smooth. Now, I don't know how important the traction on the G10 is, considering the design of this handle. I mean, your hand really does just kind of lock in on the Manix 2 to begin with. So you could make the argument that, the scales don't have to really provide that much traction, which I could see that. I could definitely see that. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier on your pocket, that's for sure, you know, putting it in and out. But just so you know, like if you're expecting the traction like on the standard G10 Manix 2, no. It's going to be a heck of a lot smoother than that. I mean, it's a heck of a lot smoother than the G10 on the PM2. And to be honest, you know, I don't understand why they didn't use the same textured G10 that's featured on those other knives that I just showed you. Instead, they had to use something that was completely different for some reason. Next potential deal breaker is going to be regarding, well, the pocket clip. Now, as I've already told you, this is not the stock clip that comes, you know, on here from the factory. You would actually be getting, and you guys are all very familiar with this clip. If I pick it up, it's just going to slide right off, so I'm going to have to leave it there on the table. But you can see, I mean, yeah, that just leaves, at least for me anyway, it leaves a ton hanging out of the pocket. So one of the first things I did was that I took that clip off, and now the one that I'm using is actually a Benchmade clip. Yeah, this is a clip that I had modified to fit Spyderco knives, and now I do have a video showing all of the steps that I took to modify this pocket clip. If you click up here in the corner at the end of the video, and you can watch that full modification video, because at the top of your pocket you want to have, you know, the thinnest, narrowest part of the knife, so you can actually fit your hand. You know, you're not having to like cram your hand in there to get by this. So using this clip, it puts that widest point down at the bottom, so you have no trouble getting your hands in your pocket to fish out your keys, your phone, whatever. And you know what, as long as we're talking about the widest section of the Manix 2, that's actually going to be deal breaker number 5, because of that 1.68 inch closed width. Yes, that's pretty wide, I have to admit, which is going to be the same for all of the Manix 2s, regardless of, you know, the lock type or material. And the last potential deal breaker is, of course, going to be, well, the price. Now, I have seen this for as low as $125, which is actually the amount that I paid for. That's the reason you're looking at this knife right now, because I was able to get it at this price. But what I've seen it everywhere else is about $140 to $145, which, yes, that's a lot of money. This is the kind of knife that I have been searching for a very, very long time, because you always, you know, once you start getting into the harder use type of knives, you're starting to make compromises, and some of those compromises include, well, yeah, the action, the how flickable that this is. And this is a hard use knife that has very good action. I mean, it is on bronze washers, the blade is riding on, so there's no bearings to worry about, which is great. $145, that is, I have to be honest, that's a little bit on the high side, you know, for S30V blade steel and G10 linerless G10 scales. At $120, oh my goodness, it's a must buy. A must buy at that price. I mean, especially if you don't already own a, like, any of like these, the cold steel backlocks. Oh, absolutely. I like this Manix 2 backlock a heck of a lot more than I thought I would.